Hitting the launch button. All right. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. Joe Bergamini here at the Sabian Education Network. Welcome back once again. This is our weekly roundtable on the Sabian Facebook page. We've had a great few weeks getting these wonderful educators and friends and drummers together, and it's become our regular meeting place every Friday. Dom and I really look forward to this. Today's a special day, well, not only because we have two other great guests, but also because we're live on YouTube. So hey, all you YouTubers, welcome. Thanks for watching. Type in your comments, only nice ones, please, and make sure that you type your questions as we go through the session for the guys. But we have a lot to talk about. Some of our regulars are already dropping into the room. Hey, Anthony. Hey, Peter. Welcome, everybody. So today, of course, right below me on the setup here is the eminent Mr. Dom Famularo. Welcome once again, Dom.
Thank you so much, Joe.
And two other friends who are both eminent, highly regarded players and teachers. I'd like to actually introduce both guys. On the top, an old friend of both mine and Dom's and a former student of Dom's, Mr. John Favicchia. Welcome, John.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. This is excellent. Really enjoying it already.
John is currently, John, you're coming to us from Florida, correct?
Yeah.
So longtime New Yorker, now based some of the year in Florida, some of the time in New York, has played with special effects, Steve Kahn, Eddie Money, Tony Levin, and many others. Yeah. He's the leader of his own group, Dharma, which has amazing recordings, which you got to check out if you haven't.
Thanks.
Has done clinics internationally, alongside a lot of other great drummers and on his own as well, and is an author of the great book Elements, which is distributed by Alfred and published by a couple of clowns who have a company called Wisdom Media. Those guys don't know what they're doing.
Accent on the clowns, yes.
And then on our bottom right there, I'd like to welcome Mr. Kevin Stevens. Hey, Kevin.
Hey there, everybody.
Kevin's coming to us from LA. Thanks for getting up a little earlier than the rest of us. We appreciate that. Kevin, who I met actually through doing some SEN events at MI a couple of years back. I've been admiring his teaching, his playing, and I know he's watched some of our sessions before. So Kevin has performed with rock and roll Hall of Fame artists such as Dwayne Eddy, Steve Jones, and many others. He's been on TV, on The Kimmel Show, on Ellen, and has played on soundtracks that have appeared on NBC and Disney. And in addition to teaching and doing clinics on his own and freelancing, he's also a faculty member at Musicians Institute in Hollywood, and studied under the great Steve Rucker, who I had the pleasure of having on a session just a week or so ago. So welcome, Kevin.
Thanks a lot. Glad to be here.
It's great to have you. So, Dom, you had a great session yesterday with Kevin Lehman, who's also a Denver guy, which is where this Kevin is also from.
Well, actually, Kevin and I met in about 91 at a Steve Houghton kind of clinic, and we reconnected at a SEN thing at NAMM. He recognized me 25 years later, and so we've been connected through this the last few years. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Kevin's, listen, he's very, very actively involved in all aspects of drumming, still studies and takes lessons, and is also president of the PAS chapter. So Kevin, if you can put, if Kevin squared can get together and put together energy in the Colorado area, I think you guys can do a lot of great things for drummers, not only in Colorado, but worldwide.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's a good guy.
Well, again, thanks everybody for joining us. And what we'd like to do this week, I've been really enjoying hearing the challenges and maybe even the things we've learned and the things that we've accomplished and done since our world sort of changed on us. So, John, what's been going on with you the last 2 months? What have you been doing since you've been, staying in, and how's it been affecting you?
Yeah, it's interesting. Right away, I noticed that it was going to be different, but almost the same at the same time. Because I'm so busy doing all these things anyway that I'm doing. But I made a commitment to myself, like, let me grow during this time. Like, I'm going to have some extra hours. So how can I use those extra hours to grow? And I just been doing all kinds of practicing, on the instrument to get better. And still teaching a lot of Skype lessons. That didn't change at all. I've been doing that for as long as I can remember. So that's been all set up. But I've been really producing a lot of videos too, and recording projects. Some clients, some friends. We're collaborating back and forth. I did about 6 videos for Modern Drummer on there. It's going to be Modern Drummer Presents series. So it was a lesson videos, and we're going to be putting that up on Modern Drummer Online. I produced videos for the Hudson Music interview I did too. We were talking about my drum book, and so I wanted to have some really good videos of myself demoing all that kind of stuff. I've been recording with a great. He's usually down here with me, but he's up in Montreal now. Amazing guitar player, Michelle Cousin from the band Uzeb. I don't know if you heard that fusion band from, so that's been a great example. And I'm just taking on a project now, which is really ambitious. I am taking a song that I actually recorded 25 years ago. It was the first song I ever recorded under my own name. And we're rearranging it. And it's going to be my band Dharma All-Stars. We're going to record it remotely. And it's a monster chart, and we've been really making it fun. It's like something you really want to play. It's got a lot of stuff in it. But the fun thing is going to be it's very ambitious. I'm going to see if I can get all the players that's gone through Dharma All-Stars to play something on it. So that's probably 100, like 70, 80. I mean, the amount of players that come through my band in New York City has been unbelievable. I mean, I'm very blessed to have grown up in the New York City area and, had my fusion band. And the amount of people the monsters that come through have been really, it's been a blessing. And I learned so much from playing with these people. So I thought it'd be a good idea to use this time too, to reconnect with all the amazing players that I've been working with throughout the years, get the band's kind of some promo, some videos out and let people know we're still, even though we're not playing live now, we still exist. And I thought I'd also share it to all the different promoters I know and all the club venues I know and say, hey man, this is what we're doing now. I got everybody back in, kind of in the loop here. When things change, hope to talk to you, and we'll keep it going. But I've been doing I'm busy, all day long, all night long, just rocking and rolling here. It's been fun and growing in every way. I've been exercising more. I mean, just tons of stuff. So it's been challenging though. To be honest, I mean, so my wife has a pre-existing condition, so I mean, we've been really locked down for like 3.5 months or something like that. So it's been, we're locked. We're not seeing anybody, getting the food delivered. But I'm blessed to have a great studio, recording studio, and video studio down here. So it's been great. It's been really good.
Beautiful.
That's great.
Nice.
Your videos, for those who haven't seen John's videos, he always gets such a wonderful, professional, amazing drum sound.
Yeah.
And I know we can, we can have whole seminars on that. But John, I do want to come back if we have time and
Sure.
get to talk a little bit about that.
Thanks.
Before I ask Kevin the same thing, just tell everybody why you have those cymbals set up like that.
Oh, So since I'm in my home office today, I'm not in my recording studio. I wanted to basically do kind of a tribute to Jim Chapin, because if you ever seen those the video that Dom produced many years ago of Jim, which I still watch all the time. Jim Chapin's video is amazing. He has the 2 cymbals in back of him like this. I said, well, if we're going to do this video and I happen to be in my home office, I'm going to tribute Jim Chapin. I'm going to put the 2 cymbals in back of me. And so that's what I did. And it looks kind of cool, I think,
It does. It looks great.
Yeah.
Dom was you're looking for the disc or something?
I thought I had the DVD. It's a DVD now. With the video, when it was done, we shot that actually in my home. And just because and Jim was in his late 70s, and there's some footage on YouTube. But I asked everyone to go down and check out the DVD. The DVD, we were able to add a couple more hours of footage. The video, old technology, could only allow about 73 minutes on the video. When DVD came out and added more footage, I put more footage on it, and it was great. So we shot it by putting some cymbals in the background in the living room of my home. I had just built a house. I had no furniture. We brought Jim in, and when you go by and check out his playing, in his late 70s, watch and listen to his technique and the facility he had.
Yeah.
That was he did not slow down at all, right up until his death at 89. So, John, your tribute brings us back to be able to speak about him, which means Chapin lives.
Mm-hmm.
He sure does.
I always love the story, Dom, that you told when the last time you visited him, when he was, what are you doing? But, I don't know if you want to briefly tell that. It's such a great story.
I'll do it real fast. We had Jim was staying at a hospital, facility in Florida, in Fort Myers, Florida. So I would fly down sometimes twice a month just to see him and see how he was doing. And he was having some challenges, and I helped him out with his financial status and what he was doing. And I was really kind of working all of his business for him. And, after several years of him being in that place, I got to know the doctors and the nurses. So I walked in at this one time, and I'd fly into Fort Myers from Long Island, rent a car, go down the drive, they get there, and I'd be there for the day, and then I'd fly back that night. So I get there, and I walk into the hospital, and the doctor's in the lobby, and he sees me, and he goes, Dom, he said, I just visited Jim a few minutes ago, and it does not look good. Now, this was July 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
July 3rd of which is now 11 years ago, and he said he says he's really not doing well. He doesn't have much time left at all. It'll be amazing if if he lives through the night. I said, oh man, I said, well, I knew this was coming. I said, I'm going to go up there now and talk to him. And the doctor says, I'll go up there with you. So we walk together. We get to the elevator to go to the third floor. We press the button, and it's quiet. We're both just standing there, and I'm thinking, oh man, this guy who was such a powerful force and an energy. The elevator door opens up, and I hear a practice pad being played. So I immediately looked at the doctor and said, I bet one of his students is there playing for him. How beautiful this will be to walk in on this here. And the doctor says, well, so the doctor, you could see he was really kind of emotionally held back because he was into music. He knew Jim. We walk in the room. It's freaking Chapin playing on a practice pad, sitting up on his bed, wailing away. So I walk in. So I turn to the doctor. I said, this is a guy that's almost dead. I said, his chops sound better than mine on any good day. I said, my God. So I walk over to Jim, and I would always kiss him on his forehead. I kissed him on his forehead, and I used to call him Forbes. His middle name was James Forbes Chapin. So I go, Forbes, what are you doing? And he looked at me and he said, I'm practicing, and my left hand is getting better. Well, we hung out for about an hour or so before he looked incredibly tired. I kissed him again on the forehead. I said, Jim, we're planning your 90th birthday party. I talked to the guys at DW and Andy at Sabian. We were all going to fly down to Florida and have a party for Jim at his 90th, which was just in about 10 days from that time. And I said, well, I'm going to fly back home. I'll put it all together. I said, I flew back home that night, and I got the call the next morning on July 4th that Jim had passed away. So wow. Right up to the end, this passion was being driven. And he was a force for not only drumming, but he was also a big force for Sabian, traveling around the world.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Amazing story.
And I have to say, Dom, probably me and a lot of the other guys listening, I've heard that story 20 times. I wanted you to tell it for the other people. But when you tell the story, I used to like to go to see Rush to hear Neil play Tom Sawyer. I can hear you tell the same story just like I hear Tom Sawyer. I never get sick of it. So I love that.
Me as well. I've heard it and I love it.
Totally. So Kevin, I'm assuming, we obviously through the news we're all knowing that California was hit hard just like New York. I'm assuming gigs came to a screeching halt, but you're in a lovely space there. So tell us what's going on with, I guess, playing stopped, but what's been happening for you the last couple of years?
I am. So teaching is part of what I do. I freelance. I lead a few different bands. So I travel just like you do. I do a lot of fly out dates, and I play around town with different bands, do sessions. And then teaching, I teach at Musicians Institute a few days a week, and I teach a bit here out of my studio. So a big part of my work, all the performing I could see there in March was starting to really come to a halt. And I really started to become rather concerned and saw that everything was stopping. And so I looked into one of the classes I teach at Musicians Institute is a class that I wrote the curriculum for about New Orleans drumming. I'm not from New Orleans. I'm from Denver, like I mentioned, but been a fan of that music and drumming for a long time. And it's kind of a chronological, from the 1800s, early brass bands, pre-drum set, all the way up to modern guys like Brian Blade, Stanton Moore, and whatnot. And it's a 10-week class that we kind of go through the history of American music, the drum set, kind of like Daniel Glass, Century Project, similar, but with a New Orleans focus. So a lot of my professional drummer friends here in town, they know that I teach this class, and they oftentimes request, like, hey, let me know when you're doing that class so I can come in and I can watch the class, And so sometimes guys come and they'll check out the class at MI, guys, that we've all heard of. And so I thought, maybe it's a time for me to try to do it outside of MI during this time when nobody's doing anything. Everything's shut down. So I immediately tried to figure out the whole Zoom thing, get a better camera, get my interface working and all of that, so I could be dialed in to try to do some kind of live webcast like this. So the last week of March, first week of April, I did 10 days straight, every day at noon for an hour. I did basically my whole curriculum of 10 weeks in 10 days. So, and it was great for me. I think all of us were all driven people. Like, I needed to have something to do. And it gave me a lot of work to do. So like John said, it felt like it didn't even really let up for me, even though MI had just got out of their quarter and I could have easily been sitting around doing nothing. I was coming here every day trying to learn about all this technology, trying to prepare my class, trying to refresh myself to deliver it. I put it in a PDF format where I could actually sell it to people who were checking in. And so that's how I kind of started this whole pandemic, was, being thrust into learning, like you say, this new technology, trying to promote my class outside of just MI. And that was great. I learned a lot, I reached out, made a little bit of money. It was great to share that. And since then, I've been doing some online lessons with students, a few students I have around the country. And MI has been going strictly online now. So that was something that MI was looking to get going in addition to classes here in Los Angeles. But this really forced the issue, and it really forced us to get that together. So I've been teaching a reading class online a few times a week, and we've all been getting our bearings with how that's working. And it's been good, It's been challenging too. I'm tuning in to you guys to watch how this is, all working. I've been practicing a ton as well. And all the musicians, most of my musician friends I know have really been taking this time to really shed on our own. I mean, at risk of being kicked off this panel right here, I've never checked out stick control past the first page until like the last few weeks. I never had teachers that worked with it, and so I'd always just done that first page or worked with students on that first page. And I was like, I'm gonna go deeper here, and I've been working on stick control. I've been working on master studies. A great friend of mine here, Matt Starr, studied with both Chapin and Morello, and he suggested, there it is, yeah. So I've been working on that book, and it's been great to just get some practicing done and whatnot. And, but as I am faced with how long it could really be before we get back to performing live, I'm really faced with, I think, having to get a little more serious about the online teaching and developing my own private teaching practice, so I'm learning from you guys every week when you do this.
Well, your connection looks really good, so I think you paid attention and you got it going on. So that's good. Did MI dictate? They're all online now. So do they specify like what platform you're going to use and everything?
Yeah. So everything was Zoom, and even beforehand, when we were just starting to, we were going to offer. I mean, the way it was planned to be was this last quarter. We were going to have everything. If there was no coronavirus, we would have been having classes like we always do, but we were going to be offering some online courses, a select few online courses, and the face-to-face meetings were going to be done with Zoom. So the Zoom platform we were already kind of familiar with, and we were getting ready to use that. But then it just really forced everything to online. So, I mean, we're not offering all of our courses. The enrollment has been down some because some of the students, especially foreign students that come here to live and live in the dorms and then practice in our facilities, all of our facilities have been shut down. So, there's students that weren't able to practice, but we found out just the other day, I think our practice rooms are going to be opening up. So maybe we can have some of those students come back to the school just to be able to practice, but still taking online classes. I mean, it's all so fluid. As you guys know, we're all just trying to figure this out as we go.
Yeah,
This really is a combination of being open-minded,
Yep.
and survival. So
Yeah.
those two elements have to propel us to adapt, and not only adapt to a new normal, we have to push and develop the new normal. That's really what our responsibility is. And that's what even Sabian does here by allowing us to have this level of facility. I'm watching this now on Facebook and on YouTube. I've got my iMac on Facebook, I've got my phone on YouTube, and here as I'm talking to you guys now. So we have to be able to be flexible to learn this technology and to be the constant student so we can help develop the new normal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great point.
I've been having some students more and more ask when they can come back in person, which is a personal discussion and decision for everybody. But I have to say, to follow up what you said, Dom, I'm enjoying teaching online. There's things I really like about it, and I've always we've been doing it. You and I and John have been doing it for quite a while. But I think I will. I don't have any problem with any student who wants to stay doing it this way, even if they live close by. It's great.
Remember the advantages, Joe and Kevin and John, that we have now. I just gave a masterclass yesterday to Maxim Dioman, who's a phenomenal drummer and educator in Kiev. He organizes a once-a-week class I do for 2 hours. We had 75 students that paid money to be on it. And it was Ukraine, Russia, Norway, Cyprus, Greece. We had people from all over the world. And if I was to normally travel to the Ukraine to do this here, the challenge is now I'm not driving to the airport. I am not taking a flight, an 8 or 10 hour flight. I'm not dealing with time change. I'm not sleeping in a different hotel every night. We're saving the company money, but yet I'm able to have the same influence that I had beforehand. And it's much easier on my life the way it is. So how we balance this new normal is really something which we have to be the engine behind this. We should not wait to hop on the ride. We have to develop and design this new normal.
Absolutely.
Good
I'm going
point.
to throw up a question here. John, I was going to throw this one to you, actually, in addition to your thought. It's
Okay.
Anthony. Anthony, welcome again. We can always count on Anthony for good questions. I love that. Thank you, brother. It's awesome. And this is something I wanted to bring up with John. And anyway, so let's talk about getting started with setting up the home studio. You get such a great sound, John. Without giving us too much info, what are some pointers to get started?
Yeah, it's much easier now to get good sounds, but I've been doing recording seriously since like 2000. And well, actually, the first recording I did under my own name, I actually recorded myself as well, which was, oh man, I don't know, 1996. It's crazy. So I've been developing, and the technology's changed, and the technology's so much better and so much easier. I mean, back in the day, to get a good drum sound, it was a challenge, a really big challenge. So my advice is I still do this. I mean, you go on YouTube and learn all these different techniques. I mean, if you have a question on how to mic the drums, there's a video on it. If you want to know how to, EQ drums or compress drums, and it doesn't cost much money today either. I mean, you can get Logic. I use Logic Pro 9. I don't have 10 yet. Logic Pro 9, and it's like $300, right? It's crazy, $300 for the software. You can get a good interface for the drum microphones now for, I don't know, $800, and then microphones, and you're recording. And you can start much easier too, with only a couple mics and a couple mic preamps, and keep it real simple. But it doesn't. I mean, years ago, when I have to go into these $1 million SSL consoles we'd be recording on in New York City, I used to have a weekly recording session at the warehouse on 46th Street in New York City. And it was like a fusion project for an arranger writer. And we'd go into Manhattan every day. He'd pay us, and we'd record all day. His charts, sight read down with a 9-piece band every single like Tuesday or was something like that. And we're in this multi-million-dollar facility. I mean, you can do it so cost effective now and so easily. I recommend getting a small digital board. I use a QSC right now in my B studio here in Florida. It's different than up in New York, but I use a QSC Pro 30 digital console. It has great AD conversion on it. It has really good mic preamps on it. And they have smaller versions too that are much more cost effective. So you throw your drum mics into there. It actually has an AD converter. You come out of a USB right into my Mac here, right into Logic, and I'm recording. And so you can the hardware is real easy. I just say experiment, try things. You're going to A/B things. You're going to just keep an open mind, like Dom was saying. And this is a great time to do something like that. I mean, we have extra time to just learn recording would be great. Hit all those YouTube videos up, ask friends who do it. I have a circle of friends of mine that we've been kind of going through this for years. I mean, I have a really good friend, Derek Roddy, down here, drummer friend of mine. And we constantly are on the phone together, like, check out that mic. Have you checked out this thing? And I'm like, why is this symbol? And I'm like, for years. And it's a real fun process. And I've gotten to, like Joe said, I've gotten to the point now where I could give a client a really monster drum sound. I mean, really top end drum sound. And it just took a lot of time, but I'm really confident the sound I got. But the one thing I wouldn't do is I still have so much respect for the top audio engineers out there. Yeah. Don't forget, those guys put their whole life into learning how to record and mix, albums, just like we put our whole life into playing the drum set. And I can do my little stuff. I can send stuff out to other clients and engineers. I can make my own YouTube videos and social media videos and lesson videos. They're outstanding. But when it comes to mixing my band, when I do my band CDs, I give it to the pros. And they mix it, a full album like that with horn sections, all those tracks going on. That's what I do. But it's a good time to get started. The cost of admission is fairly cheap compared to what I do. And then one thing to say is just make the mistakes, because there's so many mistakes to make. The amount of mistakes I make in the studio are unbelievable. I mean, one day I'm playing. I had the greatest take of my life like this. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I run back into the control room. I didn't turn my mic preamps on. So this is what goes on, and you have to make these mistakes. And don't forget now, we're now basically assuming the role of an audio engineer. And now we're thinking not just of the track and being an artist and playing music. Now we have to think technical side of the brain at the same time as we're trying to use the creative side of the brain. And that's always been challenging to me too, because you're not just going to go and say, okay, man, this song's great. I know I'm going to play and get into it. You got to make sure that the camera's on. You got to make sure the lighting is on. You got to make sure you enabled all the tracks in Logic. You got to make the mic preamp. I mean, and you click one wrong button and it's over. So it's an interesting thing. It's a great time to do this stuff. And I mean, if anybody has any questions, they can put in the comments tomorrow. I'll get back and hopefully answer some questions or something.
But John, you may make some mistakes in the recording part of it. What I'm always so impressed is you're a one-take guy. You don't make mistakes when it comes to the drumming part. The drumming part, you cut through it like a hot knife through warm butter. Always sounds great. You think it through. You map it out well. The recording stuff, we're gonna, that's a whole nother world. That's a different hat we have to wear.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely, it is. Thanks, Dom. I appreciate it.
I've been feeling that too as I get things set up, and then and I'm in the learning process with recording, but having fun with it. Get all these things set up. Okay, everything's running. Oh, right, now I have to play well. There's that part,
right. Yeah.
But and the one thing I was going to say, and Kevin, there was a follow up, and I know you mentioned you were trying to get it together as you started facing down with teaching online. So we want to talk a little bit about the video side of it. But one thing, and maybe you can address this and the other fellas can address it, that I've felt, you said watching the YouTube videos, which I've done, we all know as drum teachers that sometimes I think I fell into the trap that I tell my students not to fall into. Just because someone has a video on YouTube, they may not be an expert. So sometimes I don't know what sources to go to. So John, if you have some sources that have, really good, reliable startup stuff, because I'll be watching, even if it's, rebuilding my deck stairs, which has been my project, I'm watching a YouTube video and I'm like, something tells me this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So like I need to know the person's qualified,
Yeah, but what I do too is when I'll look up somebody to if you're looking for an audio a sound thing, I'll check out their playing and what they sound like before I spend time doing their lessons, like checking out their lessons. If the guy has, because don't forget, there's a million different drum sounds out there. You got the jazz guys that use open mics and room mics, and they have the drums tuned so much different. I do both, but my main sound is a contemporary, pop rock fusion kind of sound, which is a completely different animal. So, and there's so many, it's an art form too, and people experiment, and there's really no rules, just like playing the drums in a way that if you're getting a good sound, there's great techniques and very important to do all that stuff. At the end of the day, making music is really where it's at. So if you have to maybe turn your hand over like Jack DeJohnette to get that sound, you do it, as long as you're not squeezing or having any tension in your playing, right? Same thing goes with all this audio engineering stuff. But I always find the guys to that I learn from, I check out what their end result is before I do it. And I've been doing it a lot too now. I've been learning to edit video a lot. And it's, you go online, I've been learning how to do Final Cut Pro and editing, and there's so much to this stuff. I mean, don't forget that the video editors, they edit movies, and it's amazing what they do. And these programs, you can do that on. It's amazing. The program's like $400. I got Final Cut Pro, which is amazing video editing software, and it's only like $400. So and people use it to do movies. So it's crazy,
Well, I'm glad to hear that, John, because I don't like the video editing part. So you're hired, bro. I'm gonna send you my video. Kevin, can you talk about so when you jumped in, you said you got an interface. What have you done on the tech side? Cameras.
Well, I've had Pro Tools for years, for about 10 or 12 years, and and had a Pro Tools interface, and then at some point, an upgrade happened in my OS, and Pro Tools and my OS and everything stopped working. So that kind of went by the wayside. So about a year ago, I was like, I'm going to start fresh. I'm going to switch over to Logic, and I'm going to get a different interface. I talked to buddies of mine. A lot of guys at MI have, good home studios and stuff. I settled on a Focusrite. I found one on Craigslist. I think it was $600, 8-channel interface. It's going Thunderbolt. And just to let you guys know that Apple has a education bundle where you can get Logic, Final Cut, Main Stage, and a few other apps. At the time, I think I paid $250, and maybe now it's like I think it's $299 or something. So people should look into that you can get all this stuff bundled together for both the video editing and the audio. So I've been kind of, like John said, learning. I went to Udemy. I found out about this from a student, Udemy. It's a whole platform of people putting up kind of video series that you can pay for. And I found like a Final Cut, video series that, I think I paid, $20 for or something. I figured that seemed a little more structured and was hoping that it was going to be a little more legit than just bouncing around on YouTube, like you said. So I went there. I found a Logic one there as well. It's a little bit tough I'm finding with a lot of the Logic stuff that these guys, and again, this points to what John said about doing some research first. A lot of these guys are based more with like EDM music or something. So like they're talking about production from that standpoint as opposed to miking live drums. But so yeah, that's the stuff I've been learning about. It's same with the video editing, with one of my bands. Since this whole lockdown happened, we've been doing some, virtual kind of sessions like Brady Bunch boxes, Zoom meeting, where we all track in our home studios and then put it all together as a live performance. And that's been fun. And I've been doing the video editing for that. I'm finding out the limitations of my computer. It does not like, 10 different videos running at once. My MacBook Air is kind of being maxed out. So like you said, John, like we're all saying, this is a great time of learning. And I just feel like the world has been kind of paused, and, what a great time to just learn and be ready for what's next.
Yeah, no doubt. Dom.
I must say that this is everyone's going through this in the music industry. I had recently, for the Sessions panel, I interviewed Martina Mcbride, who's a very, very well-known country artist, and it was a wonderful interview. And in the interview, her husband's a recording engineer who travels with them and does the live dates and also her albums. But she said, "Now I'm a producer, I'm a technician, I'm a hairstylist, I'm a makeup person." I'm I'm the artist, I'm the singer, I'm recording, I'm composing. Also, she said I had to wear many hats. This is a high-end singer that does huge, concerts, and is a huge star in her own right. But even at that level, it still puts us all on the same plane. So this is really kind of interesting to see all levels of the art form are happening.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, I can jump in. It's funny you said that. It's kind of freaky. You said the word many hats, and I'm writing an article about many hats right now. You're wearing many hats, and it's the same thing. I mean, I can tell you what I'm kind of. I do. I need to do this to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm a touring drummer. I'm a touring drummer. I'm a sideman to all kinds of artists, right? I'm a clinician. I'm an educator. I'm an author. I'm a band leader. I'm a recording artist, right? But with all that comes, this is what I write in my article here. I hire players. I contract players to play in my bands. I'm the booking agent. I call clubs and promoters for festivals to book my band, right? I'm a travel agent. If I get out of town gigs, I book my travel, I book my hotel. Even when they want to book my travel, I want to do it because I want to make sure that, I'm not getting up at 4 a.m. The more control I have, the better, right? And then I'm a mixing engineer, I'm a recording engineer. Like, what kind of mic do I put on a classical guitar? I mean, that kind of stuff. I'm a video photographer with lights. I'm a social media guy. I'm a promoter. Once the gig is there, I got to bring people out to the club, right? And then I have a website I got to manage. I mean, it's the many hats is out of control, but I love it. But there's a lot going on. And for all my friends from high school that always say to me, John, I wish I had your job. I just sit around and play drums all day. I'm like, well, check this out. Check this out.
It's funny, John, you mentioned many hats, and that's one aspect of it. The other side of it is what I call spinning plates. If you remember on the old vaudeville shows where they had a guy had a stick and they put a plate on it and he spun it. Yeah. And he would have 20 plates. And by the time he got to the 20th one to spin, he had to go back and make sure the first one was spun again to keep it. So now, once you're wearing all these hats, then you got to become the plate spinner to maintain it and keep them all spinning. This is the juggling at its best.
Yeah. Kevin, you had something to add to that too?
I can't remember what I was going to say.
It's funny. When I was speaking with Daphnis Prieto just yesterday, he was talking about the same thing. And Daphnis is just great. We all got into this to be artists and players. And I said to Daphnis, I'm like, he mentioned like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm at the post office with my mask on, shipping out books. And I said, do you enjoy that part of it? And I think that looking at our audience from around the world, all of our guys and girls who join us every week, and the people who are drawn to participate with us, like Kevin, you, and John, and of course me and Dom, I think we're a certain type of person that I enjoy running my business. It's not a drag to me. Of course I love playing. That's the core. That's the heart of it. But when Dom and I run, Wisdom Media, we enjoy running the business. We probably have delusions of grandeur, like we think we're in a boardroom or something, but we enjoy running the business because that's a mark of success that you have the business to run. So.
And I do most of my meetings with Joe in my pajama bottom. So it doesn't really matter how you look at it, as long as the business moves forward. It all works.
That's right. And that's a step up because you used to have no pants whatsoever. So we have a lot of good questions, but Kevin, your space there is so cool. And you mentioned you share it with another great Sabian artist, right? Ryan Brown.
Yeah. So
show us what you got over there.
Oh, okay.
Including any Sabian stuff, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So so I'm in North Hollywood. It's a part of the San Fernando Valley, kind of near Burbank, Universal Studios. A lot of music studios up here, a lot of rehearsal studios. So we have a lockout. I'm sure a lot of people know what a lockout is. It's a place, it's an old, I think, some kind of warehouse, or it might have been a printing shop or something at one time. This been converted into just music rehearsal places. So we have 24-hour access here. This room, Ryan and I have shared for about 12 years. Ryan's kind of the perfect roommate, and he knows that he comes here to rehearse or to work on stuff specifically, but he's on the road with Dweezil Zappa a lot, and so he's not here nearly as much as I am. But we rehearse here, full PA. I store all my drum gear here. I don't really have any gear at home or anything like that. I teach here. So, yeah, I mean, if we, got a bunch of storage kind of on that side of the room, right. I've even figured out a way to that's a 28-inch kick drum hanging from the ceiling, and that's from Harbor Freight. You get this, it's like a pulley system that I think is for like live game, like hanging up a moose or something. I don't know. It's like $11. And so I have this pulley that I'm able to just get that bass drum way up in the air, out of the way. Built a bunch of shelving. So this little corner here is, you know, kind of my interface and everything like that.
Nice.
You know, so this kind of like mission control, you know, right here, I'm able to sit at the kit and kind of do the engineering at the same time.
Yeah.
If I take this off without making you guys too dizzy, you know, I mean, I have so many drums that I just kind of got, you know, it looks like a drum shop or something almost, you know, just the amount of drum gear in here is a little bit ridiculous. But this is, you know, my kind of office that I come to, and especially during this pandemic, I've come to every day, you know, and I come here to get work done and to just have some sort of normalcy in my life, you know, and it's been good for that, you know.
It's a great advantage that you have, just have you and Ryan there. So you know, some people I know, if they have to go into a public building, it's a whole nother can of worms, but you just get in there, it's just you. So you have access.
Yeah. I mean, there's other rooms, you know, but, you know, nobody in this building comes here too often. You know, there's a few other people that are here, but you know, you wear your mask in the hallway and on the in and out. But once I'm in this room, I'm, you know, just kind of by myself. So
yeah. So for those who don't know, both Kevin and John are Sabian endorsers in the family with Dom and I and the rest of the guys. So Kevin, do you have a cymbal or two that is your go-to? I know you play a lot of different styles. You do a lot of different things.
I play a lot of different styles. But I got, you know, this, I mean, I don't know if Elitch turned me on to this. Dave Elitch is a buddy. This is a 22-inch heavy ride. It's a Weckel, you know, Legacy HHX.
Oh, yeah.
And man, it is a great all around, just great sounding cymbal. It's kind of washy, you know. And it's funny though, I have it.
I have one too. We all
do. Yeah, we have. Yeah, you got one too. Nice. It's a great all-around cymbal. And we have a few at MI too, and they always sound great. But a funny thing that you guys will all appreciate, I put that on the rider, you know, for when I travel. I do this David Bowie group that travels all around and does these dates. And I have, you know, cymbals that I prefer. You know, they're all Sabians, and I mention them, and sometimes they have them, but that's on there. But, you know, I think a lot of times these rental places don't really know. And so, man, when they see heavy ride, they assume it's a real heavy cymbal, like a mega bell. Like, remember the Zildjian mega bell? Dude, I have had some crazy cymbals given to me that are like the thickest, like manhole covers, because I think they think that's what this is I'm asking for. So that's a go-to cymbal. Also a Legacy 20-inch just ride. A lot of times I'll play with just one cymbal, you know, if I'm doing like old R&B or stuff, and you can ride and crash on that thing. It's a tremendous, love that cymbal as well.
Yeah, that's a great one. You know, I had HH complex ones in here, remember last time? And I had to do a little demo for the guys and girls up at Sabian. Sadly, I had to return them. I hate that part of it. They were just demo ones. I had to send them out. But so I put the Artisan back up. And the Artisan is like, it's not as light as everyone thinks. You know,
oh, really?
It's actually a little heavier than that Legacy.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't really do mostly straight ahead playing. I mean, I play a lot of other different things.
Right.
So I think I had more of an idea that the Artisans were thinner, more straight ahead, but so the hats and the ride, but the Legacy's a little lighter, but you can play rock on it. And like you said, Elitch, a lot of rock guys use that and just bash on it.
Yeah.
So
it's a great cymbal.
Cool.
What
about
variety? Look at the variety that Sabian offers us. They offer this full palette of colors, the entire rainbow of sounds that allows us to go from one point to the complete opposite point of sounds. This is so huge.
Yeah. Fav, what about you? What's your go-to?
This wasn't planned, but 20-inch Legacy ride, right?
There it is.
Yeah, I've been same thing. I really nail this thing, and it's supposed to be like a more, you know, jazzy type thing, but you can crash on it, and it never gets. It's just amazing.
It's got a great bell too. The bell's really nice.
I can crash on it. It's just it's articulate. It's sticky. It's a great ride. I've been doing a lot of recordings with this guy lately, and it sounds great. And then the other one that's kind of a go-to to me, I have these stacks that I use. I've been doing it for a long time, and it seems like when I play with my band, I have to have these stacks with me, because what happened is throughout the years, some of these arrangements we've been doing, I play different melodies with the band on these stacks. And if I don't have the stacks there, I don't even know. I don't know how I'd play the song. It's like that become that part of my deal. So this is a beautiful cymbal. It's a hand hammered HHX splash. It's a 10-inch. And check this out. It's a hand hammered. It's a HH China Kang. Remember this guy? It's an 8-inch. It sits like that together. I stack it. It's on my left side, and it's amazing the sounds I'm getting out of it. And I've been using this stack. I brought that stack in 2005 when I did Cape Breton International Drum Festival in Canada. I know it because I remember I needed to take that with me. So I've had that cymbal a long time. 2005, I think.
That's great.
Crazy, and it's beautiful.
Dom, when you travel around, do you? I remember years ago you did travel with cymbals, but when you travel around, do you request the same setup, or do you like to sample different ones?
I still carry my own cymbals, Joe. I mean, I have a setup of cymbals. I have HHX setup that was hand selected for me. Mark Love and we got together. We pitched the cymbals together. And what I did in the early days is that when I first joined Sabian 31 years ago, I went to the company and I hand selected a set of cymbals in the sizes that I play, and we matched it out. Got exactly what I wanted, the rise, the crashes, everything blending the way it was, of course, at the help of Nord Hargrove at the time and Mark Love. Then what we did was, after we kind of got the set and I was completely happy with it, we duplicated the set. So we pitch paired it and duplicated it, and I left the set there at Sabian, and I took that set with me to travel. So whenever I wanted a new set of cymbals through the course of the years, I would ask the guys to match up that set. So they would match up the set that I had at the company, match it up, put the new match set in a bag at the company, and ship me out the old match set. So I carry it with me so I have my sound. You know, I want to have I want to put myself in my comfort sound. And if I'm in my comfort sound with my cymbals, the HH and the blend that I have, and I have a Weckel Evolution that choose 2 rides, when that happens, I'm home. I'm home. Even if the toms sound a little differently in the room, my cymbal sound puts me home. And if I'm home with that sound, I find my level of creation is more consistent, and I can maintain a higher level of expression when I'm in my circle of Sabian.
Good point.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So Kevin, when does MI start up again? Is it this?
Actually, we have the last day of classes for the quarter is today, and finals are next week. So I'll be doing my final on Monday, and then we're off until just after the 4th of July, and then we start back because we're on a 4-quarter system. So we do a summer quarter as well. So we start up right after the 4th of July.
Okay. And still doing the private stuff. So with your private students, are you using Zoom for that as well, or are you using different platforms?
I'm using Zoom, and it works out great with I'm able to use all my mics just going into the Focusrite. I was all set up to do it on the class. I got like the Sammy Hagar Madonna mic, that I wear, and I'm able. That all goes into the system, and with Zoom, and I'm able to hear back nicely. So
that's great. And what about you, John? Are you using that Zoom as well for privates, or would you use
Zoom? Is really standing out to me lately. They have a new stereo button. You can go stereo, and they also have the original sound click if you do, which makes a big difference. Even some guitar player friends of mine that do some Zoom lessons, they would be playing before that original sound button was on. They'd be strumming, and it would cut off the decay of the chord. So it's been a big deal, and I think it seems Zoom is the way a lot of players and teachers in the music industry are using. And the cool thing about it for me too is this is something I'm going to start doing as well. Is since you have to send a link to somebody, it's a real secure way to do a masterclass, right? Each person gets a link, and so if you sell 10 links to a masterclass, and you see 11 people on there, somebody gave the link away or something, right? So, but it's more controlled, and there's these new websites that take ticketing and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to actually reach out to a lot of the venues that I've done a lot of clinics to all over the world, basically, and let them know I want to start getting into these Zoom master classes and see and kind of ping them and see exactly where they're at with their technology. If we can match up and start doing, instead of me coming and doing clinics, if we can start doing these clinics in the Zoom vibe, because it works, and for me too, especially, I'm lucky enough to have my book published, Elements, and a lot of times when I do lessons and master classes, they have the book. The student has the book. Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier for me to teach in this virtual way because I know the book so well, and the student has the book, and I have the book. And I've been doing the Elements concept. I mean, I did hundreds of clinics where I actually taught this Elements thing. It's a very big concept that can go from a entry level student to pro student. So I could. It really makes the master classes and the Zoom kind of Skype lessons very just not successful, but just people get a lot out of it, basically.
Right. Well, Dom, you've been leading the way doing your classes with that format, right?
Well, I started this when Skype first started. I saw the potential of this, so I started doing it 20 some odd years ago, and I was the first one to start putting video lessons back in the 90s on YouTube and on the internet on a website, and you had to shoot it in 90 seconds because it was dial-up. You couldn't put any more than that. So I had to time myself to speak and give a lesson in 90 seconds. Wow. And that was the potential. So you had to kind of be excited. You had to get it going. So my training process started there. And then once we started putting that up, and I had to laugh in the early days of the internet when it went on, the 50,000 views happened in the first day. That blew everyone away. My gosh, the potential of what we have available to us. In time, as I've stayed with Skype of course the way, because they really were the only game in town. Now, when Zoom came out, I immediately started using Zoom. And Zoom had probably about 13 or 14 million people using Zoom before the pandemic. And now it's at 280 million people. Wow. So the intensity of the growth of what it is, the format doesn't matter. There are some students that want to use FaceTime. There are some students that we use Skype. We use, of course, Zoom, and even Webinar Jam. There are several other platforms that still work. So I say the platform, understand as many of them as you can, because there might be advantages that you can use that might assist you and the student better. So it changes. So I might go from Skype to Zoom to FaceTime to Zoom to Zoom to Skype. And so I in my notes on my calendar, I got to put down what format I'm going to be on with them so I know what the hell I'm talking about, because it's easy to get confused in the process. But It's tremendously fun. It changes the look of what we have. And now even with different areas of, even as we're using StreamYard, that somebody can watch us on YouTube now and Facebook, this opens up a whole nother level of how you want to view it. So YouTube also has the ability of doing this. So we have to learn these, get to know what's best, the same way we go through models of symbols. I had to play the AA, the HH, the AA, the HH. I had to play them all, and artisans and the legacy and the evolution. I had to play them all to find out what are my options that will work best with me. So when I go to express myself, I can deliver the best Dom Famularo I can in that time, because it's all about the student. So it's all about the student. Whatever we can do, I don't care what format, it's about the student. I think that really is an important part of the process.
Yeah. Well,
let me just add something. I saw in the comments, Ross said that when you do a master class and say you sell the tickets or links, there is a waiting room. So basically, you could see the waiting room right there. And so if you say you had a master class of 10 people and there's somebody there that you didn't really know, you could probably, it's a good way to go with that.
Yeah.
And I can add one other thing with that I've been doing some with my students at MI. If you do have a group thing, another feature that Zoom has is the breakout rooms. And it's a feature that you kind of have to enable, I think, in the preferences before it becomes a button down at the bottom.
Yeah.
But what you're able to do with that is then take a meeting of a large group of people, or even 4 people like this, and then break it up into smaller one-on-ones or smaller groups within the larger meeting. So if you want to do some one-on-one work with a student while, the other guys could be like kind of working on something on their own, it's a way that you can do that. Or there's other times when maybe you want to have everyone watch you do the one-on-one work. So that's a cool feature in Zoom as well.
I know Steve Rucker, who, by the way, is here, Kev. He said hello earlier to you.
Nice.
He jumped right in and has been using Zoom. And Steve's going to be back on with Jim Toscano with Dom and I in a couple of weeks to talk about technology. But one of the things, I was intimidated by the cameras, but it seems like with certain webcams, the switching part is easy. Now, what Dom said is true. Like the main thing is, you don't need any of this stuff. You just need the basic laptop. You need yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I said, someone put up a question for Daphnis during his thing yesterday. What do you think you brought to Michel Camillo's music because he's so demanding about drummers? And Daphnis' answer was, I brought me. You know, he brought it myself. So obviously that's the core, but I'm just enjoying the bells and whistles. And Tony McNally had a comment earlier saying, whatever you do, just jump in. So we were noticing some challenges with the previous technology that we used to do these very sessions right here. And so StreamYard, I tried it out, guess when? With Daniel Glass live on Monday. Like you just learn as you go along, and then you find out that a lot of this stuff works the same way. So I'm just trying the bells and whistles. I think even in this session, it should work the same way, right? Like, can you guys see my different cam now?
Yeah, that worked.
And here's my newest toy. Check it out, foot cam.
All right.
Nice.
Oh man,
Foot cam going.
Joe, you might want to invest in a freaking vacuum cleaner. Come on, man.
That's all the wood chips from my son wailing on his drum set.
Nick is great, man. Nick is playing better than ever. He's 18 now, right? Did he turn 19?
Yeah, 18.
He's 18, not 19 yet.
Yeah.
He's playing great. He really is playing fantastic. And his drum set is right next to Joe. So that China behind Joe is
that's your son's kit?
Nick's kit.
Yeah. So Ross was asking about Chinas. I have an AA China here, and then there's an HHX that's actually on that kit. I have my big China is up here. This is an old HH dark Chinese.
Yeah.
So yeah, just love having so
Fantastic.
many symbols.
But
Someone had a good eye. They spotted before we got on. I noticed there was just a space there. My first drum book ever, some Haskell Har right here.
Yeah,
so,
somebody saw that. It's great.
Yeah, somebody saw that. I got it out to put up there as a little tribute.
guys, I met Haskell Har
Oh, really?
at a PAS event many, many years ago. He was in a wheelchair at the time. He was very, very old. And then I went up and I shook his hand and I said, Mr. Har, this is so fantastic that you have put together an educational concept that will live way beyond all of our years. And he shook my hand and he said, and what book was that? I can't even remember his own book, but he
Really?
did.
Dom, I thought you were going to say you met him at the Battle of Antietam.
Hey guys, I've been around a long time, and I remember before electricity when we were doing these kind of events.
Yeah, right. Well, guys, as we get near the end of the hour, I would like to go around and I would like to hear you guys tell me, and Fav, I'm going to start with you. You get to put on the spot first. What are your goals for the rest of your time that you have here? If you have a little more time before we go back out to traveling and playing, what else do you hope to do for yourself during this time?
I'm going to keep growing as much as I can. This new project I took on with my band is going to be a monster project, dealing with like 60, 70, I don't know how many musicians, sending them charts, getting them to record, and then getting all these different audio recordings and video recordings and putting them all together. And it's going to be a lot. So I'd like to get that done before this is over, because most of the players are home now. They're not on the road, so we can do this. Once things open up and they're out rocking and playing, they're gonna be on the road, and it's gonna be a challenge to get them to be in their home studio and do the recording. And other than that, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, keep things positive, just enjoying everything we can, trying to spend some good time with my wife Leslie, and just trying to gonna have a drumming, and that's it. You know, everything's good, and I'm just very lucky to be blessed to have my studio that I can practice every single day. Like Kevin was saying, it's such an amazing thing to have. And people always used to say to me, when you play music, do you forget about like problems? Does it take your mind off of things? I used to say, no, like actually for me, I need to be clear-headed to play music. I don't want to have bad things going on or anything. But now with this pandemic thing it's amazing how all of a sudden you get in your zone and you forget all this noise out there. And the couple hours a day I practice, it cleans my head out. And then along with exercising, I'm doing great, you know?
Nice.
That's great. Kevin, I know you mentioned some things you're working on and learning, but what else is on your mind?
Practicing. I'm reworking my bass drum technique kind of from the ground up, and that's been humbling. And progressing, but that needs some more work. So I'm going to continue with that. Another thing that just in the last week I've been really thinking about is trying to get into writing more. I've done some writing, some for my brass band and whatnot, but like what John said, I think, and what we've all talked about, you've got to just get in there and do it. And I think if I just go over to this keyboard and I start putting some ideas into Logic, I'm going to be learning about some writing. I'm going to be learning about the recording. You're also recording drums. There's so much that I know that I can learn if I spend some time there. But the other thing that's been wonderful for me, and I'm sure maybe for you too, Joe, because it sounds like our sons are the same age, is I've had all this time to spend with my family that I normally don't, with all the traveling I do. And my son's going to go off to college in 3 months. I mean, for us to be able to be hanging out this much has been a real gift. And I look forward to that continuing over the summer.
That's great. I couldn't agree with that sentiment more. Dom's boys are a little older. They're out of the house, but Dom, you as a man who's, so many of us come to you for advice, and you've established so much in your career. Are you working on anything during this time?
I absolutely am. I've been in the end of August, I turned 67, and that will have celebrated 50 years of me teaching privately and 55 years of me playing professionally. And I think I found the fountain of youth.
It's in Port Jefferson?
Ponce de Leon, the great explorer, was trying to find the fountain of youth. You drink from this fountain and you were young forever. Well, he died never finding it, and he ended up dying in Florida. I tell people, I found the fountain of youth. I found the way to be able to stay young, and that is the constant desire to be a student all the time in anything you do. We are students now in this new technology. So I ask everyone, I want to be a part of the designing of the new normal. I'm not waiting for the new normal. I want to be one to push the new normal. So I am reading books about marketing and technology. I am constantly filling myself up. I have 600 books on Kindle on my freaking phone. I mean, no matter where I am, I'm reading something to take it in so I can push myself to that next level. I don't know where that next level is, but that's part of the design of being able to jump into it and just make it happen. When I take a shower in the morning, some people turn the hot water on, they turn the cold water on, and they feel it, and they design the hot water, and they get in, and they a little bit more cold, and then when they're ready, they get in. I don't have that kind of time in the morning. I get in the shower, I turn hot and cold all the way up, and I lather myself and get this freaking show on the road. Whatever happens, if it was a warm day or a hot day or a cold day, so be it. I'm up at that point. At that point, I'm up, I'm ready to go, and I hit the day as fast as I can. So instead of waiting your pool to see if you want to get in the water, dive in and push this new normal and be a part of the design team that will have this new 21st century mentality ready for us and also future generations.
Great point.
Absolutely. And on that note, we've come to the end of another great session. I just want to make sure everybody knows. So I'll go back in the comments for both John and Kevin's websites. Both guys have great sites where you can look at their recordings. I really want you to go and check out both guys playing and what they have coming up. So fellas, if you don't mind, make sure I get the websites right. I'll put them in the comments.
Okay.
I was trying to load them actually before to share them, but I feel like I was experiencing a glitch there. So, but everybody go check these guys out. John Favicchia, thank you for being here and sharing your passion and expertise with us.
Thank you, Joe. It's so great to see you. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Great to see you again, number one. Thanks for being here. Yeah. Thanks for...
it's an honor. Thank you, guys.
Fantastic.
You got browbeat by 3 Italian guys, but you did great. It was awesome. But it was a real pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
Dom, of course, always great for you to be with me to host these great friends and educators. So
thanks. And thank
you, guys.
Thanks to Sabian for putting this on. And Joe, thank you so much for managing this and putting this all together. You do a great job. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Thanks Dom. Thanks, John.
It's my pleasure, you guys.
Nice to see you, Kevin.
Thanks, guys.
Don will be back on Thursday next week with John LaMattina, I believe.
John LaMattina, who has joined us here, a phenomenal drummer is in Atlanta, Georgia. So be prepared to hear some really good old school stories and some processes that still work today as they did years ago.
And then we'll be back with Steve Rucker and Jim Toscano, who have been guests a few times with me and Dom to talk about technology. This is awesome. It's like SEN's greatest hits. I love it. We'll be back next week. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you then.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Thanks.